The true identity of the sun god of Elbaf was finally revealed, and no one saw it coming. I wasn't expecting it, and I'm sure you weren't either. We also got a big highlight on Nami in this chapter, and it looks like she's going to have even more important moments in this arc that's closely tied to her and her powers. Plus, the Straw Hats have finally escaped that prison. But before we dive into the story, how about you dive into the like button and subscribe to the channel? We've got new videos every week, and it'd be an honor to have you here with us. Subscribed? Left your like? All right, let's get to it. First, we get a cover story showing Yamato arriving at Amigasa village in Wano. We also see Otama training to become the greatest warrior in Wano, along with Shinobu, who's gained weight again. As we know, Kaido was defeated by Luffy, so now the people of Wano can eat as much as they want, which probably explains why she's put on some weight. What I liked right off the bat in this chapter was that Oda brought us something unpretentious, a lighthearted story like we often saw before the time skip. Fans have missed this side of One Piece to remind us that it's not just about power in battles. At the start of the chapter, we see the townspeople panicking when they see the fire, thinking it's the end of the world. We also quickly realize that the sun god of Elbaf is a fraud. He gets upset because his temple and servants were destroyed by our heroes and let slip. You destroyed my room. I mean my temple. And my pets. I mean my servants. With that slip-up, he reveals his disguise and shows that the whole world around them is a giant theater. As for the crew, they're fleeing through the city riding the giant cat. Luffy asks it to jump over the Lego buildings, thinking they took a lot of work to build. But it doesn't really matter because the cat ends up breaking everything anyway. Like I said, it was a great idea for Oda to start the Elbaf arc with a light, humorous story to slow down the pace a bit since we just came from the intense battle in Wano against Kaido. Next, we get a panel showing the supposed sun god chasing the crew, and we get a better sense of the scale of the kingdom, which turns out to be just a giant's bedroom. At first, with the way Oda drew the angles from below, we thought it was a real country, but now it's clear that it's just a staged city with mirrors on the walls to add depth, and the clouds are just cotton hanging from the ceiling. We're even shown a map of the area with the other room where the fake god really stays. Another detail we saw was how quickly Nami memorized the map of the place, partly because she's an amazing navigator and partly because it's just a giant room. We also see the tree that the randoms call Yggdrasil, but like everything else here, it's fake and made of Legos. The fake sun god also reveals that the map Nami read doesn't show everything. In fact, the place is actually a prison for giants, designed so no one can escape. The fake sun god catches up to the crew, and transforming his staff into a giant fishing net, he tries to capture them. But Sanji and Zoro easily destroy it. It's interesting to note that Sanji used his most powerful attack, Ifrit Jambe, in this fight. And combined with the fact that Luffy used Gear 5 against a bunch of random animals in the last chapter, it shows that Oda is making these powerful moves feel more commonplace because he's setting up for even stronger attacks. The crew still has a lot of room to grow, so you can expect some exciting developments coming soon. After the metal net is destroyed, the fake sun god assumes the Straw Hats will be stopped further ahead by the god of the ear. He's shocked when he stumbles upon the rabbit's skeleton and realizes it has been devoured. Later, we see that the fake sun god is actually excited about everything that's happening. He's not as angry as we expected. Those people living in his kingdom weren't just prisoners. They were part of a huge social experiment he was conducting, placing them in that location and observing how they would interact and what choices they'd make. So that's why he created this world, to allow a series of organic events to unfold, even if they were unexpected, and even if it led to him eventually losing control over his world. In the end, all he wanted was a good story in his little world. Nami is furious with the sun god and talks to Usopp, asking if a natural disaster could be someone's fault. Usopp responds that there's no way to blame anyone for natural calamities. Sanji jumps into the conversation, crying with a furious expression, saying he wants to kick that giant's butt, all because the sun god swapped Nami's clothes. But Nami stops Sanji, saying that judgment will come directly from the sky. In this chapter, we also get a small flashback showing a bird carrying the Thousand Sunny to this place, revealing how the sun god kidnaps his victims and how the Straw Hats ended up there. And this is also where the true identity of the fake sun god of Elbaf is revealed. He's actually a giant named Road, one of the members of the new giant pirates led by the giant Hadrudin. Interestingly, Road disagrees with Hadrudin about submitting the giant crew to the Straw Hat Pirates' flag, even as allies, which explains why he greeted the crew with such hostility. He recalls the moment when Hadrudin met with him and decided to join the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. Road didn't like the idea of Hadrudin making him subordinate to Luffy. To him, warriors of Elbaf, the strongest in the world, bowing down to a weak human was a huge blow to his pride. Road holds Luffy and Nami in the palm of his hand, and he gets even more excited when he sees Nami's body. Now we understand Sanji's rage. Suddenly, Nami and the others start to wake up, but Road puts them back to sleep with more sleep gas. It's interesting to note that Road doesn't want to work for Luffy because Luffy is human and small, but he used to work for Buggy's Delivery. Road's appearance was a total surprise. No one imagined he would have greater relevance at this point in the story. But I can tell you Oda had planned this since the whole Cake Island arc. No one will likely remember, but in chapter 898 of the manga, Road appears in the cover story with the title, I Will Return. And indeed, he has. It seems that Eiichiro Oda keeps a drawer full of papers with all the loose ends in one piece. And every time he sits down to write, he thinks, let's see which plotline I'll bring back after years. Now, something a lot of people were expecting was for Oda to reveal some hot woman as the true identity of the fake sun god of Elbaf. After all, everyone knows that Oda almost always introduces a babe at the beginning of each arc to guide us through a new land, explaining how things work there and setting us up for new adventures. For example, in the Alabasta saga, we meet Vivi, the blue-haired babe, actually in Whiskey Peak. Then we have Conus, the winged babe in Skypiea, followed by Kimi, the mermaid babe in Sabaudi, then Rebecca, the warrior babe in Dressrosa. After that, we had Wanda and Carrot, the wild babes of Zoo, then Pudding, the three-eyed babe in Whole Cake Island, Yamato, the hottest babe of all in Wano, and finally Lilith, who I won't call a babe only because she's one of the versions of Vegapunk and Egghead. Looking at all this, we know Oda does this frequently. Back to the chapter, we see Nami summoning Zeus and unleashing a powerful storm of lightning on the giant road. It probably wasn't enough to kill him, but definitely enough to paralyze him, showing us that judgment truly came from the sky. It's clear that Nami's powers of weather manipulation and forecasting will be heavily explored in this arc because, as everyone knows, Elbaf is a region based on Norse mythology, which worshipped Thor, the god of thunder. Oda surely won't miss the opportunity to dive into that theme in this arc. We might even expect some mention of the Sky Islands from the Skypiea arc, which would fit perfectly with Elbaf. Or maybe even some news about Big Mom's whereabouts since, as far as we know, she's supposedly dead. But Zeus, which is part of her soul, is still alive, which doesn't make much sense. We just need to remember Mother Carmel's son, Pandora, which disappeared after her death and was replaced by Big Mom's Prometheus. Of course, it's debatable whether Big Mom is alive or not, but I prefer to believe she is. Let me know in the comments what you think. At the end of the chapter, we see Luffy being able to activate Gear 4th only in his arm, instead of using it on his whole body. With Kong Gun, he destroys the wall surrounding the Lego City, hoping that the outside is the real country of Elbaf. About Luffy's arm, this was an interesting detail because in the previous chapters we saw him activate Gear 4th, but apparently using an elephant gun, which is part of his Gear 3rd arsenal. The fact that Luffy is now using his special forms partially shows the level of control he has achieved over his devil fruit. It's different from before, where he always seemed to struggle, letting air escape from his body when getting punched during his special forms. So, what did you think of this chapter? Were you expecting the revelation of the true identity of the fake sun god of Elbaf? Did you, like me, also enjoy the fact that Luffy doesn't need to fully transform to land blows using Gear 4th? Drop a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. I'll see you next time.